The views expressed here are those of the authors and do not in any way represent the views of Sophia TV.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another edition of Ladies First. I'm joined here by Fahmida, Samaya, Nishat. I wanted to ask you ladies the question about social hijab. Who defines social hijab in 2017? Now, so many advancements being made in every aspect of life. So where are Muslim women in all these advancements? Does simply being a woman prevent you from being part of making advancements? And I'm talking about situations such as in arts and entertainment. Where are the Muslim women? Are they present?
I know of a woman from my community who is a very good artist, and she does Islamic paintings and does a really, makes a living out of it, and she's traveling and very popular now.
And how long did she have any resistance when she was doing this?
Not that
from
I
the
know
community and stuff.
Not that I know of.
When you're talking about social hijab, I think of Facebook. You should not upload photos of yourself on Facebook, especially if you're not dressed Islamically appropriately. I'm taking a very conservative line here,
I agree
because
with you, yeah.
Once it's out there, and people are going to form opinions on you. They're going to form judgments upon you. I mean, I'm talking about social media here as one aspect of social hijab.
Yeah.
And it's a very important one, especially with loads of young teenage Muslim girls have smartphones.
So can I just go back to Fahmida's questions when you were saying about Facebook? I think you said Facebook. But why should we be concerned about what people think? If we're dressed in an appropriate way, why should we bother if somebody has a comment about our image?
Because you've met somebody and he's fantastic, but his mum has just seen you on Facebook and you're dressed really inappropriately.
Oh, you're talking about inappropriately, okay.
Yeah,
I'm talking
and the mum's like, I don't want her as my daughter-in-law.
But are we just, are there some incidences where men don't want to take responsibility in terms of why can they not practice some self-control? Why can they not lower their gaze? I've seen men that, are staring at sisters who are in full black abayas.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
That's disgraceful.
Well, it does happen.
They should. What about that thing about lowering your gaze?
I had a friend who went on Hajj and she was performing tawaf and she was inappropriately touched by men, and you're on Hajj. So she obviously couldn't turn because it would have broken her toe off. And I'm thinking a lot of the times you can be in situations where you're completely appropriately dressed Islamically. And again, the onus is on you. So, if you're wearing shoes, make sure they don't click. Make sure they, the abaya is really flowing. But sometimes you can't get an abaya that is really flowing.
Absolutely.
I think we're being a bit unfair to our men folk as well. Yes, I think we are. And that is why, because I've grown up with that attitude where men don't lower their gaze. I am more comfortable at work with non-Muslim colleagues than I am with my Muslim colleagues that I work with at the madrasa, I feel.
Why is that? That's
because, but I just told you why. I just told you why. Because we have been constantly telling or saying about our men folk, saying, oh, they don't lower their gaze, they don't lower their gaze.
Well, maybe
and that is why. And maybe they should, but maybe they already, some of them do. Why do we have to always, blame them of this?
Because the onus is, the reason why we say blame, and that's a bit of a strong word, but I think a lot of the time the onus is on the woman. If you're wearing a hijab, what colour hijab was it? What are we doing that somehow we might just instigate men to go completely out their minds and just become, I don't know, really ravenous human beings? Was your abaya black? Was your,
but you just said that men would stare even if there was a woman in a covered fully in black.
I said there are some types of men that will stare no matter what you're wearing. If you're wearing a niqab, if you're not wearing, there are some types. So maybe the onus should be on teaching men hijab as well, what social hijab means, and it doesn't necessarily have to be linked with clothing, like Sister Samaya said. It's a way of thinking, possibly.
I feel that sometimes men just get away saying that, the woman was dressed immodestly, and so I have the right, and she was instigating me, so I feel provoking me, and it's okay to then go ahead and like rape her or go as further as that it's because of the woman, she should cover herself. Should men learn to respect the woman for what choices she's made and actually have some self-control?
Sometimes Muslim women, especially if they have personality types that are a bit loud or just very vibrant. Say you've got a Muslim woman who's very vibrant and she's really bubbly and she's really friendly and she laughs a lot, or she laughs a bit too loud, or she speaks a bit too loud. It can be interpreted in the wrong way. And so what happens is in certain situations is that woman then becomes like that, like a little quiet mouse, like a little dormouse in the corner, kind of scurrying around, and she's really having to contain elements of her personality, but it comes back to how do we define social hijab? What is acceptable? And this is where we really do need the brother's point of view.
And I think that what I find challenging is we live in a society, being in London, where there's a lot of mixing of the sexes. You're on a train, you're on a bus. We all know that the transport system in London, you could be crammed in like sardines. It's not a problem there. We go to the shops, there's a female cashier. It's all fine. But when we get together as Muslims, we have to be reminded of social hijab. And it's like, excuse me, but I'm a grown adult. I'm quite conscious of what I find appropriate, and I'm going to be respectful. I'm wearing a hijab. That's if you're practicing hijab. So I'd like to think I'm aware of the image that I'm putting across. Why is it suddenly then we have to be reminded of, you enter a masjid and it's lower your gaze?
Because it's cultural norms.
Not just that. I think when you're mixing within your family or your circle, it's because you're closer to those men than you are to the men at work or in the tube. So then there has to be a reminder of how to behave around men, because these men are closer to you. Doesn't mean that the social hijab is not going to be there.
I don't really understand that point.
It is because we keep saying that the men at mosque or at home are more judgmental of our hijab than the men outside.
That's what I was saying, and I don't think that's appropriate. We're a community and we're a family, and we're meant to support each other. It should be that if I'm in an Islamic environment, I should be supported. Everybody knows why they're there, their intention. I was in a situation, I'm actually laughing because there was a brother that I was talking to, obviously work related. I speak to brothers, people, stuff and all. But yes, I do speak to brothers. So we were talking, and then he kept going backwards, and he kept moving left, right, centre. So the more he would move, the more closer I'd get to him, because I thought, well, I don't know, can he hear me? What's going on? Maybe he's trying to tell me that someone's trying to pass us. So at the end, he was basically pinned to the wall, and I was like, what's going on here? So what I remembered was, he's from a certain community, so he's practicing the social hijab, so maybe I need to be 6 foot away from him with a megaphone having a conversation. And I just thought, it's so ridiculous. I mean, we're in public, we're having a discussion, it's an Islamic environment. Why are you fidgeting here? What is going on here?
Reputation. How is it going to be perceived? This is where the narrow-mindedness comes in, and being too judgmental. Now, I sometimes speak to different brothers and sisters from different backgrounds on social forums on the internet. And there was one brother who was so angry because he saw these Muslim women and they had a belt around their abaya which would accentuate their waist ever so slightly. And then another picture
that would upset me as well.
Yeah, another picture he put up. She had tassels hanging down. He said, "Why the tassels? Why is there the need for the tassels? It makes it attractive." The tassels, by the way, were the same colour as the abaya, black.
Well, mashallah,
but he got very angry.
Well, I pray for him that he finds someone who wears a dustbin bag. And that way,
I uploaded a picture of a woman in a red plastic bin bag, and I said, brother, is
It
this
was red. No.
Yeah, and I said, oh dear, but you can see the outline of the shape of the leg. Is this acceptable?
So tell me, explain to me, why would you be offended?
Because
which is fine to have a different opinion.
I believe
What's wrong
that
with the
hijab.
belt around the abaya?
Now this is going towards physical hijab, not social hijab. I
Okay.
think, and the physical hijab is that you are not accentuating or showing the curves of your body, and
Well,
if by wearing a belt around your waist
Hold
does.
on a minute. There are sisters who have curves in the shot, and no matter what type of abaya you wear, no matter what size, something is going to poke
No,
out
I'm not
somewhere.
saying. I'm not saying
Unless
about the
it's a bed
size. I'm
sheet.
saying if you're
Over your
no, but
body.
even if it is a badge, you guys are making a joke of it. Even if it is a badge, if you're tying something around your waist, you are going to accentuate your figure.
Well, so she should just have no shape. She should just be a blob.
If you're really short like me and you wear one of those, you just look like you'd look like
Well,
a
you
blob.
want to, but you're not meant to be fashionable. You're meant to be a
No,
blob.
but it's not about fashion. It's about showing your figure.
No, but some people, Nishat, this happens. Some people want to be presentable and fashionable. That's why we have an Islamic fashion industry. People may not like it, but it caters to some people in our community.
It's okay to wear the abaya in my mosque, but if I go and wear the abaya over there, I'm going to feel so left out, like the odd one out. And it is very challenging and difficult to be accepted in a society like that. It's easier said than done. If you're volunteering in your mosque and you're happy to, I'm completely happy with the people who choose that way, but you miss out the point where people are struggling because they have defined the social hijab that you have to look a particular way to get into to live your life.
I believe you can be modestly dressed without showing your without still doing your hijab.
I've started thinking in a more positive way that maybe they're just not used to women being
Who they are.
forthright or, you know, having a vibrant personality. You know, I have to see it from their perspective, because maybe they've come from countries where the women are not even seen outside the home, and yet I'm coming to a majalis. So I have to see things from their point of view, and you have to make some sort of compromise.
I feel there's a dress code for different places, and I think the sanctity of a mosque, not a center, should be that you are dressed appropriately.
Yes, of
and if
course.
that means putting an abaya on because that mosque requires you to, then why not?
But then I do see a flip side of it. I like to think, I'm just thinking, am I being a liberal here? I think a mosque should be a place where the doors are always open. And I think it should be a place where anyone, at whatever stage they are in life, can come in. I would hate to think that somebody's not stepping into my mosque or any mosque because they feel that they don't have an abaya to wear, or they feel uncomfortable.
A mosque or a center?
A mosque.
Okay,
I didn't
so
say centre,
when you're
I said
attracted
mosque.
to that mosque, you're attracted to not only the mosque but also the values of that mosque.
No,
and
no, no, no. I have to disagree. For myself, when I go and visit mosques, I'm not looking at their ethos or their policies of, or what do they. I'm looking at the mosque because I need to pray, and I get a sense of peace by walking in here, being amongst my brothers and sisters.
So I'm thinking,
not
if you went to a holy place,
yes,
like, Iraq or Iran or Saudi Arabia,
yeah,
would you feel comfortable in not wearing an abaya?
going to where? On a
the
ziyarat.
yeah.
Can I?
If I'm on a ziyarat, look, and I'm going to Iran, and they have a principle where it's a chador or an abaya, I'm going to adhere to those rules, because if I don't, I stick out like a sore thumb. Culturally, they can't do that. But if I'm going to a masjid in London and I need to throw down 4 rakats and I'm in my suit from work, I should be able to go into the masjid. 25 years ago, the only people we saw wearing abayas were Saudi Arabians. You know, but you're going on ziyarat. I see people from Singapore wearing the long Singaporean dress with the long top past their ankles.
Which is
the sarong.
basically...
They're not wearing an abaya and they're doing umrah. It's perfectly fine. So I'm
Also-
saying it's a cultural thing.
Also, back home, we have a sect which is called Boris. I don't know if you know. And they have a certain style when they go to their mosque. So it's like sort of a dress sort of a thing, but it's modest. You know, they've got like a top going on like that. They wear a scarf. So it's their culture. So this is all culture. We've picked up probably the abaya culture and brought it to our mosque because we feel that is modest for us. But
it's so true. As you can see, it's a heated discussion. I'll leave the audience members to decide what they think is modest and appropriate to wear. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode. I am looking forward to speaking and having my one-to-one discussion with Masuma Jaffer. I'm joined here by Sister Masuma Jaffer. I'm really looking forward to having my one-to-one discussion with her. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
My question to you is, who defines social hijab? What does it mean to be ladylike, and what can and can't do? So, for example, in Egypt, there's a group of girls, and it's got a lot of media attention, that are really introducing roller derby, and there's a big uproar because people are saying it's not, a ladylike to do, even though they're in a hijab and they're fully clothed.
I have no idea what roller derby is, I'm sorry.
Basically, it's when you're on roller skates and you go around a track and you try and knock your opponent over.
Okay, wow.
And I think you can have groups, etc. But it's a very full contact physical sport, and you're sweating some because you're going round and round.
Women sweat.
Well, there you go. So this has been caused ruffled a few feathers because people are saying culturally this is not acceptable. You're going around really fast. Who defines what social hijab?
Okay, so social hijab is defined by Islam, and the ruling is that you cannot have unnecessary interaction with the opposite sex. Okay, who decides what unnecessary is myself. Okay, Islam is very it is a religion that is for all times. So the beauty is that it doesn't sort of say you have to wear this and you have to do this and you have to do that, because then it would only fit into that time and that place. So you have to cover your whole body, only your face and your hands should show, and the shape of your body shouldn't show. And then how you do that is up to you. So whether I choose to wear baggy trousers and a baggy top on top, or whether I choose to wear a flared skirt on a top, whether I choose to wear an abaya or a chador, that's my decision. Whether I want to wear colours or not, that's all my decision. So it fits in every culture, in every time. And the social hijab is, again, if it was you can't have any interaction, it would limit women to their houses. They wouldn't be able to go out anywhere and things like that. A lot of the times, I know, when we're having these discussions with friends, they would turn around and say, when we talked about mixed receptions, wedding receptions,
yes,
and they would say, well, you don't go to mixed wedding receptions, and you say that's haram, but yet you will go to a restaurant, and you'll sit there and there are other men there. But it's totally different. With a mixed wedding reception, okay, it is done in a way where I am actually going there dressed up. Usually in a wedding you dress up, so even when you're in hijab you've still got makeup and stuff on.
Right.
And again, so you're actually looking a lot more attractive than you would normally. And you're going to be sitting with people and interacting with people socially who have no relationship with you. When I go to a restaurant, I'm going with my family, I'm sitting on a table with my family, I'm interacting with my family, and there are maybe other men, but I don't have any interaction with them. So the hijab allows me to be anywhere I want to be, and that is my physical hijab, allows me to go on the bus, on the train, into restaurants, shopping, and then, work anywhere. But the social hijab puts that barrier where, okay, now I need to be aware that I cannot have interactions which are considered as unnecessary.
See, I was going to say that. Have you ever been on a tube in London when you're like sardined with 50 guys?
But again, you're not doing that because you want to. You're doing that out of necessity. When I went to Hajj, that's when I think I actually thought about my hijab, and I thought, why would God do this? When segregation is something that is so, encouraged in Islam, and then, Hajj is a wajib action where God makes you go to His house. And He literally puts you in a situation where, forget about your personal space, you're actually, in contact with you know, namahrams, and with men who you don't know, and you know, and they're wearing their ihram, so a lot of their body parts are exposed, you know, their arms and things are exposed, and there's actually you know, like contact there, and you just feel very, very uncomfortable. And I truly believe that the Hajj is there not as a ritualistic practice, not as a tick box exercise, but for you to learn things that you can take back home and bring into your life.
So for
me, when I was doing that, I felt it made me realize that I am in control of my own hijab. I can't control other people's hijab, I can control my own. And if I ensure my hijab is the best it can be, then if in a situation like this I can maintain my hijab, then in the West, where I have the right to my personal space, it would be so much easier to maintain my hijab.
I'm thinking about that. Yep, I agree. I can.
So in a difficult situation like that, if I can maintain my hijab, then how easy is it in a situation where I'm in control?
My question is, okay, on Hajj, the men, my friend went on Hajj and she was really harassed, and poor thing, but the men, I would like to think, have some certain level of control. So why don't we expect that when we're not in that situation? I think that a lot of the situations where we say, oh, don't do this, don't do that because of your social hijab may be compromised. Is it not because the men can't seem to conduct themselves
I wear hijab to protect my own soul. I don't care about men.
Could you expand on that?
Okay, I truly believe that the rules of Islam are there for the soul, not for the physical body. Okay, because God doesn't tell you to, you know, eat vegetables and fruit and drink a certain amount of water, get to a certain amount of sleep, anything, because you'll do all of that.
Right.
You know, when your body puts on a little bit of weight, when your body's got hurt, you'll realize straight away. Whereas with your soul, you don't realize when your soul is ill, when it's hungry, when it's tired. You know, we have no concept, and the soul is who I am. I'm not Masma the body, I'm Masma the soul. And because I am my soul, I need to take care of my soul. But because I'm living in a physical world, I have no idea how to take care of my soul, which is a spiritual being. So God, out of His love and mercy, has given me the rulings to take care of my soul. So anything that is wajib is something that is absolutely required for my soul. Anything that is haram is absolutely detrimental to my soul. Okay, now if I have that understanding, then I am doing these things for my own protection. Just the same way as if I was walking down a street and I saw, I don't know, a group of men where I felt threatened, I wouldn't, you know, think, why should I cross the road? And I wouldn't sit there and just go through them, because I would feel, I would feel maybe I might get hurt. So to protect my body, I wouldn't have a problem putting myself out and crossing the road and going another way, just so that I protect myself. In the same way, by wearing the hijab, I feel like I'm protecting my soul. How? I don't know, but I know that this is how the rules of Islam work. I can sit there and try to explain to you how I've come up with it, but that's not necessarily correct. Coming from a science perspective, I don't know if you enjoyed science when you did it.
Science, yes.
Okay, so you know you had the semi-permeable membrane where certain things were allowed through and certain things weren't. To me, I see my hijab as that. So it forms a semi-permeable membrane around my soul, so the soul of these non-mahram men cannot have any contact with my soul, and so my soul's not affected by them.
It's the way you put it. You're extremely eloquent, and it does make me think. And it's just the way I think it's presented, and you often think, well, could you control yourself rather than it being...
I'm doing it for myself, not for them. And I think that's important to realise. And a lot of the times people will say, well, how can a physical clothing affect your soul?
But must we be responsible for other people's reactions? So, for example, we're making advancements in everywhere in life, alhamdulillah, and you see so many Muslim girls now, I can only speak about girls because I'm a girl, who want to do sports, who want to do ice skating, who want to do track and field running. And then there's always an issue about hijab. You
can do all of that with hijab. You can do all of that with hijab. All you have to ensure is just you're wearing really loose clothing, and you're doing it with women. So again, if there's any physical contact, you don't have to worry about it. So even with this roller derby, I really want to have a go. It sounds really, really fun.
Oh Lord, can't be held responsible. What about extracurricular activities when we're talking about social hijab? For example, your daughter wants to be a cheerleader, and she's in hijab.
How can you be a cheerleader in hijab?
You can be.
Can you? I don't know the clothes.
It depends. Not like a professional one, but you've got pom-poms and you're doing backflips and you're doing, yay.
Would you be,
I'm not gonna do
would you
it.
be able to maintain your hijab in that sort of circumstances? I don't know. It's like,
What if you said loose clothing?
yeah, but again, as
And
you do
it's
the
gold
backflip
net.
with the loose clothing, not sort of.
No, but you're in
expose
trousers
everything.
and you're in a
Again,
tucked in trousers and
But if you're
gold
tucking it in,
netball.
then the shape of your body is showing.
So now
It's
we
very
can't
difficult.
do anything.
There are
then.
certain things you wouldn't, and plus I think with cheerleading as well, it's a very sort of sexist.
What about ice skating then? There's a hijabi she's an ice skater. Would we then say, oh, she's wearing lycra, but it's loose, but you know, it's a certain
I think if you're determined to do something, you can do it with you know, in a way that your hijab is maintained. I'll give you an example from my own life. I wanted to go scuba diving.
Yes.
And obviously you have to wear the whole type of things, and that cannot be considered as hijab, but it was something I really, really wanted to do. I wanted to see God's creation under the sea, and you know, and you know, I used to sort of, you know, pray to Allah, and I used to say, look, you know, why am I being denied this? It's like I want to be able to go right down deep into the sea and see your creation. And I remember once it was, you know, we were so lucky, and like we went to an island called Kish in Iran, which is obviously, because it's Iran, the hijab is there and everything. And you know, we were living there, and we went to this resort, and they had scuba diving. And I said to the guy, how does that work? You know, do I have to wear the wetsuit and everything? And he says, yes, but we have this thing. And he took out this thing which literally looked like a dome with a round sort of ring at the bottom, which kept it sort of, you know, weighed down. And under the wetsuit, you would wear, on top of the wetsuit, you would wear that, so it would hide your figure.
Like a tutu from your neck
Yes,
down.
exactly.
Oh.
But it allowed me to then go, and the funny thing, and you know, and it was beautiful, because it's like, even when we went, there was me, my husband, my son, and my daughter, and he said to me, you go with your son, so that if there is a problem, and you need to come up, I can hold on to your son, and he can hold on to you. So again, you know, being that aware of your hijab, that you realize that even in a situation where you may be in a problem, you don't have to have, you know, physical contact with an amaharam. And I was able to do that, and it was the most beautiful experience of my life. And when I do the subhanallah in my tasbih, that is one of the things that I remember when I'm saying subhanallah to God, because it was so beautiful. And I was able to, and I didn't have to compromise my hijab. So there are ways of doing things without having to compromise your hijab, and also to realize that this world is a very temporary world. And you know, to compromise my hijab where my soul will be affected, which will then go on to eternity, do I really want to do that?
So interesting. So what advice would you give parents then? There's so many things. There's guitar lessons, there's tap dancing things you want to do. And as children, it's very difficult to tell, you know, the whole class is doing something. And we're talking about social hijab, we're talking about, you know, obviously when you're bala. What do we say to them? Because it always seems like no.
I think that's the problem as parents. I think we concentrate on the rulings without building the relationship of that child with God. I think that is so important. The child has to have a relationship with God where he understands who God is, where he understands God has created him for a higher purpose, for paradise, for his soul to reach its perfection. He has to understand that God loves him so much that it's, you know, you just feel that love. And it's like, you know, and he doesn't need us to do anything. Everything he's told us to do is out of his love and mercy to help us reach our perfection.
As always, you've ended it on such a moving note. I really do hope you've got something from this episode. I look forward to seeing you on our next episode.